Hi, welcome back to Gardening with John, and this is an update on the front garden here. We're just about to water it, and then we're going to give it some fertilizer, and we're going to show you what we're using. So we're going to go ahead and get this nice and irrigated. Notice how I'm trying to keep from hitting the leaves with any kind of water. Obviously, I'm not doing the greatest job in the world, but it's preferable just to hit the roots of the plant. If you get your plants too wet, this can encourage mold growth and some other issues. So if you can avoid watering the entire plant, that is preferable. And as you can see, I also do not want to wash off my 7 dust that we applied the other day. So you want to water your garden before you fertilize. That's very important, because what's going to happen is if you put your fertilizer down first in a dry soil, it's not going to spread out properly. It's going to flow down little cracks and channels in the soil deeper down and eventually just flow away with the runoff water. So have the soil wet already, and what this will allow the fertilizer to do, because it's water soluble, it's going to spread evenly throughout the garden much better. And if you don't have to water afterward, you don't run the risk of washing your fertilizer out. Alrighty, so we got this. Let me grab our fertilizer. I'll show you what we're using. Alright, so this is the fertilizer we're using right now. This is called Alaska Fish Plant Food. I've been using this for a few years and I've always been happy with it. I recommend it to everybody. You can usually find it at your Walmart or your Lowe's, and on the off chance you can't, you can always buy this off Amazon. But it's liquefied fish. It's the whole fish. It's a byproduct of the fish food industry. It has a 5-1-1 formula, so we have a good amount of nitrogen in here, and it does supply some other stuff as well. And what I also love about this stuff is it doesn't burn your plants. And so we're going to show you how we use this over here. We just grab our gardening can, we give this stuff a good shake, get those solids settled at the bottom, mixed up in there. Now the directions tell you to use 2 tablespoons, I believe, per gallon, if I remember correctly. In my opinion, it works much better if you actually add a little bit more than that. As I said, it doesn't burn your plants, and putting more than the directions have told me to do in the past, I've never had an issue with burning the plants. So I do recommend this stuff, and it's always worked very well for me. Definitely wash your hands after handling stuff, though. It does not smell the best. Alright, so here's how I apply this fertilizer. Again, try to keep it off the leaves of your plants. It has never damaged the leaves of my plants, but still. And you want to make sure you give it a good deep soaking. Make sure that that fertilizer does penetrate the soil and get to the roots. I expect these peppers here are going to jump up after a couple of doses of this stuff. We did end up planting late this year, so we are a little behind. It's late October right now, mid-October. And we're kind of counting on having a mild winter this year in order to have a proper harvest. But judging by how the year's gone, I think that might just happen, so I'm not too worried. And there are precautions we can take against the cold anyway, and we'll go over those when we cross that bridge. Get all that good stuff out of there. All right, we need another dose. right, so we have moved to the back garden here, and we're going to do the same as we did in the front. We're going to give it a good watering before we fertilize. And as I said before, try to avoid watering the foliage of the plants. Especially for your beans and your tomatoes, I know that those two varieties are especially susceptible to fungal rot. You should also avoid watering your beans or your tomatoes early in the morning and late in the afternoon, evening. It's just the right temperature for funguses to start growing. If you water middle of the day, any kind of water you do accidentally put onto the leaves is going to evaporate off. But if it's left there overnight, it's not really an ideal situation. We're very interested in this tomato here. We can't remember exactly which variety it is, but it's the only one of its type in the garden. It has very different leaves than all the other tomatoes. Whatever package it came from, it is the sole survivor. It's not a very large plant, but it is flowering, so it looks like it's going to give us some fruit. There's our carrots. And a mystery plant that we're just going to let it go and see what it is. I'm thinking it might be a mustard green, old-timey blue, if it is. Alright, so we've made another batch of our fish fertilizer here. We're going to apply it here in the back. As the front, we water first, apply fertilizer second. And I have not had much of a problem with this stuff causing a stink in your garden. When you open the bottle, you will notice not the freshest scent emanating from it, but it does not really stink up your garden much, and I haven't had any problems with it luring unwanted animals into the garden either. And we're in Central Florida. We do have quite a few things. There's raccoons, possums, armadillos. We've begun seeing coyotes out here, even stray cats and whatnot, but none of these things really have been in the garden or caused an issue. So some people I know are concerned about that with using a fish fertilizer or something similar, but at least with this product, that has not been an issue for me. Alright, so we're done fertilizing the garden. On to the next step. As you can see, there's a bare spot in my garden here going back probably 2.5, approaching 3 feet in length and about 1.5 feet in width. We lost some pepper plants here. One by one, things killed them off, be it storms or pests or things I don't even know. But we have an empty spot as a result, and so being fall coming around, we're going to be planting some carrots. Carrots are a nice winter crop. They actually are sweeter as the weather is colder, so right now is an ideal time to plant them. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to scrape some of this mulch off to the side. Actually, we'll put it over this way. I don't want to bury those bean leaves in mulch. That could encourage some fungal growth. So we will scrape it over towards the tomatoes. As you can see, there's some grass trying to come up in here. We're going to chop that up to some degree or another before we do anything. Now, carrots do have long taproot. Obviously, they are a taproot. So you're going to want to loosen the soil up a little bit for them. Otherwise, they might end up stunted, not going quite as deep as you'd like. I'm trying to stay away from where I assume the root beds of my other established plants are. I don't think they have spread too far in this direction, so I think this should be fine. Alright, I'm going to scrape a little soil off to the side to use for burying the seeds. We're using some cosmic purple carrots, and these are coming from the Seed Savers Exchange. This is my favorite place to buy seeds. I love the Seed Savers Exchange. They do a lot of work with protecting heirloom varieties, fruits and vegetables, things that have nearly gone extinct, and in a couple instances, things that actually have gone extinct and have been brought back. Oh boy, didn't mean to scoop them all right there in one spot. Let me disperse these around a little bit. Alright, I think that should do. You only want to give it the very lightest of coverings. Carrots don't need to be very, very deep. In fact, they could hurt their germination. Just the lightest covering of soil. And we will hit this with some water immediately after. I think that should do. Alright, we planted our carrots. Now we're just going to water them. Always water your seeds immediately after planting them. Do not just put them in the ground and just leave them there. They will die. For the most part, soaking should work there. Alrighty, and there's one last thing we want to show you before we ended today's video. It's going to be around here, and it is the beginnings of a cantaloupe. Now let me see here. Where was it? I spotted it a little while ago, and I have forgotten exactly where it was. Oh, here we go. So if I gently move these seeds aside here, you can see that we have a female flower, and there is the beginnings of a cantaloupe there. It hasn't flowered and bloomed yet, so it's not fertilized, but we'll be looking forward to that in the coming days. And we don't know if that cantaloupe will take off or if we're going to lose it, but we're going to watch it with interest, and we'll keep you updated on its progress. Thanks for coming out to the garden.